Good morning. This is Reverend Jim Lewis, pronouns he, him, they, them, from the state of North Carolina, greeting you this morning. So, I've been eyeing this stack of papers on my desk over there, where you can't see. And I've been eyeing it for the past month or so. I call it the messy stack. When I reorganized all the mail I've been getting, I ended up with that messy stack of mail. I did not realize it, but when you move twice and suddenly become the person in charge of your mother's estate, well, you get a lot of mail. And some of that mail is asking me to do things that I don't understand, that I've never done before. In the months after my mother has died, and during a pandemic. So, that's the messy stack. While there has been much anxiety in my life over the past year, the largest source of anxiety this week comes from that stack of paper over there. And I avoid that stack, but it haunts me. It takes up daily energy, as a matter of fact, just thinking about avoiding it, pushing it to the side and pretending I do not hear it. Now, I'm sure increased anxiety is familiar to many of us after the past year. Any number of anxieties have arisen in us, ranging from the quiet call of messy mail all the way to anxieties about the future of the planet and potentially the safety of our own lives. What do we do about it, though? What do we do? It is a drain on the psyche for some of us. I was rolling this idea around with a friend of mine. He's a therapist, and coincidentally, his name is also Jim. Jim told me what I already knew but did not want to admit. Trying to throw out our anxiety rarely makes it better. The best thing to do is often to sit with the feeling and be present with it. Rejecting that feeling can just make it more persistent. That sitting with the anxiety is not comfortable, but sometimes sitting with it will help us to let go of it. And sometimes it is indeed telling us something. There can be a message underneath it. For instance, that messy stack of mail. Yes, you over there. On the surface, I push it aside because it just seems like a lot of work. Or I have another priority. Or I don't know immediately how to address the issues presented in each piece of mail. And indeed, those are true. But the anxiety underneath all of that really speaks to this old story I have told myself for so long. Jim, the story says, you will fail. You will always fail. You are indeed a failure. Hearing that story underneath that anxiety gives me a chance to do something with that story. Now, this is with honor to psychologist Judith Beck for her work. But we have an opportunity to look at what that anxiety is about and challenge it. That's one thing that we can do when we see that anxiety more clearly. We have an opportunity to look at what the anxiety is about and challenge it. For instance, I might be saying, Mail, I am not actually a failure. I'm not, even though you continue to say it, even though you are part of that narrative, I'm not. I get to challenge that anxiety. Or sometimes a second option with those anxieties are we have an opportunity to problem solve them. That might be, gosh, this stack of mail continues to make me uncomfortable. And so maybe it's time to do something about it. Maybe it's time to sit down and make a plan for how I'm going to address it. Give myself a schedule, a timetable. Schedule another appointment with my therapist or call a friend of mine who we can talk about our problems together. Or, indeed, a third option is we have an opportunity to accept that anxiety, to accept just that we have that feeling, and or that there may be some reality there. For instance, in this case, I have indeed failed to pay a couple of these bills on time. That is accurate. I have failed in that specific way. That's accurate. Or just to say, this is indeed a feeling that I have, even if there's not a lot of substance to the why of having it. Perhaps you too have a messy stack of paper. Maybe there's a reason underneath it. Perhaps the specifics of your anxieties are more directly threatening, in real actualized ways. Perhaps you have been afraid to go outside, even with a mask, to places where there are not people. And perhaps there's reasons under that. Anxieties around health and your health being endangered. Or anxieties around possible oppression-related violence directed towards you because of your identity. And indeed, those may be valid anxieties which do not have an answer or a fix that you yourself can implement. Perhaps you don't know why, but you just feel that knot in your stomach, and you wish you didn't. But I say, it may be good to sit with it, to sit with that feeling, and be present to it anyway. Give it some minutes to just be. Acknowledge it. Sometimes you will figure a thing out. Sometimes you may mourn. Sometimes you may just give it space and then be able to move on for a longer or shorter time. Now, I do want to note here too, this is my caveat, if you are a person who might get overwhelmed by that feeling of anxiety, there are some excellent grounding techniques out there. You can even find them with a quick Google search online. I just saw an excellent one today where it suggested putting your hands in water and focusing on how the water felt on your hands. And if you could use some more support in this way, I'm sure that a member of our ministry team can help you find resources. And also, I am not a mental health professional, even though I talk to them. And in general, mental health professionals are excellent. And if you need longer and deeper support, working with one would be a great idea. I myself am on the search for a new therapist after my move. We are living through a strange time, unlike most, if any of us, have lived through before. We are experiencing having dealt with a mix of isolation and health crisis for over a year, with a possibility of an abatement of that health crisis coming soon, or soonish, hopefully. We don't know. This is on top of all of those special things that have happened around health, the regular challenges of any given year, plus the societal and political challenges, plus whatever our lives have brought to us personally. This is challenging. I encourage us, encourage you, encourage myself to give space to our anxieties and to care for ourselves as we traverse this time.